Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Hathor Hosts. I cannot believe this, that we are in week 19. Where has the time gone? Week 19. No, 19. I am so thrilled to have you all here this evening. I am delighted to be talking to my wonderful friend who I'm going to get on in a minute because I see she's joined the conversation. Amy Lovatt, who is a fellow actress, a fantastic singer, and of course a YouTube sensation. And we are going to be chatting about her career, her life. I mean, she's still very young, so she's packed quite a lot into her life, but we're going to be chatting about all sorts of things. If you're new to this, thank you so much for joining us for the first time. If you've been with us since the beginning, thank you so much for your loyalty and your support. And I think that we should just launch straight on in and get Amy up and chat. I hope everybody's well and coping with various levels of lockdown and life. There she is.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All the better for seeing your gorgeous face.
Oh, you look lovely. Let me just
Thank you.
move in. All right.
I like your, I'm going to do the same because I feel like my top of my head's been sort of knocked off. I'm liking this, your headband thingy. It's fab.
Oh, thank you. It's like my signature thing now, apparently, that I just always have.
Oh,
it's mainly because I've not had a haircut in like 6 months. So, you know, you've got to get it back.
Yep. I have the same. I did a sort of self haircut, you know, one of those, like doing it at a home haircut. Big mistake.
Wow.
Big mistake.
Oh, really?
And it's still kind of still growing out. Hence the slick back Robert Palmer look.
Oh, bless you.
So I thank you so much for agreeing to be on Hathor Hosts. And,
thank you for having me.
I'm so delighted to have you. I think that we should just start at the very beginning because what a very good place to start.
Exactly.
See
You
what
beat me
I
to
did
it.
there? Tell me where you were born.
So I was born in Blackpool, which is in the northwest of England. It's quite known for being a theatrical town. Like there's a lot of history in British comedy there and things, although it's more just kind of for hen do's and stag do's these days. So it's not so much a comedy place for the north anymore, but it was originally.
And also it's on the sea, isn't it? Because I remember my
Yes.
first visit to Blackpool, I was completely and utterly blown away because it had been really grey and miserable. I think we were touring and it was February or something. And all of a sudden I went to the theatre in the morning and there were all these people who were tanned and lithe and bright orange, some of them. And I was like, where have all these really good looking people come from? Because of course it's famous for the Tower Ballroom, where we have Strictly.
Exactly.
And there was some kind of dance championship on in that week, and suddenly there was just this bevy of showgirls and really beautiful people parading around the town.
I mean, once a year it's... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, you go, please.
I was going to say, like, because, I mean, we all kind of, you just get used to it. So once a year, you just get loads of really beautiful tanned people in Primark and you're like, what are you doing here? But it's nice being by the sea. Whenever I go near like a seaside town, I always feel like I'm at home. That sounds a bit weird, but like the smell of the sea feels very like homey to me. Which is nice.
I understand that. It's something familiar as well. So hi,
definitely.
Rachel. So you are one of 3 siblings. Where are you in that lineup?
I'm the youngest. So I'm the little baby. Yeah.
Do you get away with murder being the youngest?
I think I don't get away with as much. I feel like because I started doing theatre when I was probably around 12 was when I started like really going to a lot of classes and stuff. I spent a lot of time in the car with my mum. So we would drive like to not our local town, like the town over. And so we spent a lot of time in the car together. And so we had a much closer relationship. So she saw everything I did. So I didn't really get away with much, to be honest.
And speaking of being interested in performance, you were interested in performance from a really young age. Do you come from an artistic family?
I would say so. I mean, I'm the only person who kind of performs. My mum and dad did some like amateur theatre stuff when they were really young. But I'm the only person who kind of wanted to do it as intensely as I did. But we're a very arty family generally. Like we all like doing art and DIY and those kinds of things. So I suppose it is in me in that way. And my mum always loved musicals, so we would watch old musicals together. So it's just always been a part of my life, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
A creative family.
Yeah.
And so you were interested in performing, and as you said, your mum loved musicals, so there was obviously that influence was there. And then at the time you were doing lots of kind of extracurricular activities. You were doing a bit of gymnastics and all sorts of other things, and performing in your local village hall. And it was here that a dance teacher sort of intervened, and thank God for that, because she approached your mum. Well, tell us what happened.
Yeah, definitely. So I said that I wanted to do dancing, and my mum was very much like, we don't want you to do something that's too competitive. So she wanted a dance school that didn't do exams, and they did like a very small show. So I went to one in like a local village quite close to Blackpool, and it was very, very low key. And we were doing a segment in our end of year show on Annie, and I would just sing it all the time. I was obsessed. You know, I would do like little shows just for myself in the back garden and things. And my mum had always thought of me as a pretty bad singer, to be honest. And then, I don't know, I just used to sing all the time, like to anything ever. And so I would sing while we were rehearsing the dance numbers in class. And then one day, Miss Sarah went up to my mum and she said, you know, we think Amy's got a really good voice. You should probably put her in classes. And my mum was like, my Amy, are you sure that you've got the right child? And I suppose it's a lesson that practice does make you better at something, because I don't really remember, but I apparently was awful, and now I'm not so bad. So
well, I'm not sure I believe the awful part, I have to say. I think that I've heard your singing. You're a pretty damn fine singer. We're getting quite a lot of pixelation. I don't know if that's just on my end or if I'm doing that to you. It's like Instagram is vexing me. Oh no. Oh,
I'll try. I put it on my 4G because I thought it might be better, but I've put it on Wi-Fi. So
yeah, try Wi-Fi. Let me know if hopefully that's
yeah,
that's better.
Fingers crossed.
So as it turns out, Annie ended up having quite a big role in your life, and it's really funny because it was the first kind of musical that you did. It was mine too. So we have that in common, which is and you went to an open audition and I went to an open audition. You were in England and I was in South Africa. So tell us a little bit about your open call for Annie.
Yeah, so I went to go and see a local it was like a college production of Fame, and as we were waiting there was a poster that was like audition for Annie. So, and I mean, we were so like, we just had no idea basically. So that morning my mum was like, if you want to go you can go, but if you don't want to then there's no pressure. So I was in Brownies at the time, so I went to church in the morning, and I remember saying to one of the other Brownie girls, like, I'm going to go and audition for a musical later. But I had no idea what it was going to be like. And so I have an awful memory, to be honest. And I remember kind of like weird segments of the day. There was so many kids there. Some children had gone in costume, which we were unsure about as well. I remember I wore like a top that had like something about New York on it. And I was like, Annie goes to New York. So maybe, I don't know. And they had a round where they took some girls to go and bond with a dog and see if you could bond with it. And we didn't even end up having a dog in our production. I don't even know. But we were there all day. We kept doing recalls throughout the day, and then at the end, me and another girl were told that we were going to be playing Annie. And I went to school the next day, and I said to one of the girls, I was like, yeah, I got cast in the show. And she was like, what? Like, because the girl I'd spoken to the day before, and she thought I was lying, because I think we just, like, nobody really understood it. But it was great. Loved it.
I think also it is exactly one of those things, and you've touched on this on your channel, which we'll get to in a minute, but that thing of like finding your tribe and sort of going, oh, I finally fit in. And
oh my God, yeah,
I had a similar experience. I ended up playing Tessie in the production, which ran for a year.
Oh wow.
And my parents, yeah, it was like a big professional production, and my parents were completely gobsmacked. My mother was like, Lovey, you've never really sung anything in public. Why do you want, what? Do you want to go and sing on stage? And then we got there, same thing, thousands of girls, you know, belting out Tomorrow. And I was like, and then I remember getting up onto the stage, and the only thing I'd seen was The Sound of Music. So I brought Edelweiss, however you say it. And my knees were knocking. I was so terrified. Oh, and I sort of started, and I was like, and I saw my dad kind of get up to come and get me, and I was like, every morning you greet me. And my mom said, she was like, where the hell did that voice come from?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Annie was your sort of baptism by fire. Do you remember your opening night? How long
yeah.
Did the show run?
Sorry.
Oh, you cheat!
Not a cat.
I love that.
Sorry. Say that again. Sorry.
I was going to say, do you remember how long, firstly, how long was the run? And then do you remember your opening night of Annie?
Yeah, so it was only a really short run. I don't remember it being like a huge thing. Like, I remember being really, really chilled out. I didn't really have nerves at all. And I remember my mum, when she talks about it, she's like, I was so nervous. She's like, you'd never done anything before. You'd never had a solo in a show or anything. And here you are, you're going to go and be Annie in Annie. And what if you get up there and you just don't do anything? Because I also had I hadn't really practiced my lines with her or anything. And then she was like, I don't even remember you practicing. So I'm like, does she even know her words? So I know that she was very stressed, but I was like chill as anything. Yeah. I was very relaxed.
And you ended up joining that theatre company. I mean, obviously you were still at school, but part-time, Imagine Productions, which really kind of immersed you in the world of theatre. You did Les Mis and The Sound of Music. And was that for you that kind of aha moment that you were like, these are my people, I love it here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always struggled to kind of fit in with people at school, and I didn't really I had kind of casual acquaintances, but I never really had like a group of people at school. And the people at Imagine and the theatre group were definitely where I just felt most kind of comfortable, and you know, I could be passionate about things and people wouldn't make fun of me, and that was just amazing to me. So it was massive for me to go there, and yeah, I mean, I learned a lot while I was there as well. Like, they were very strict. So I learned a lot about professionalism and so much about the industry. We would, you know, they taught us to do our own makeup and things. They like brought people in, and they really tried to kind of train us. And so, you know, I owe a lot to them, for sure. Yeah.
And then after high school, it was kind of decided that you were definitely going to have a career in the arts. So you graduated from Preston College. Yes, you are. With a BTEC in musical theatre and acting. And you then came down to London and went to Mountview to do the foundation course. How long is that course, the foundation course?
It's just a year.
A year, okay.
A year. Yeah, so the goal is to kind of get you prepared for the 3 years. So they kind of market it to people who aren't quite ready for a 3-year course. I have to say, I think even I think performing arts training is so mentally draining and difficult, and I think a lot of people are too young at 18, and I think I personally think you should go a little bit older, because there's things that you have to deal with in yourself, and you know, institutions aren't always the most safe places for young people who are in that kind of vulnerable position. And so the goal of the course is to kind of get you ready, but if anything, it just shattered me so much, and I ended up leaving a few months before the end, which is so not me. Like, I'm not a person who, you know, quits a job, you know, willy-nilly, and I'm very much I will see it through to the end, but it just didn't feel like it was worth my time anymore, to be honest.
No, I'm so glad that you brought this up, because I had also had a really miserable experience at drama school, and I didn't finish either. I left after, I think, 11 months, sort of almost graduated. And at the time, I remember my kind of lead tutor, who was amazing, the only kind of one that I really really resonated with me. And she kind of turned around and said, "Why are you going? You're so good." And I was like, well, because I'd had 11 months non-stop of people telling me how shit I am and how rubbish I am, I'll never work, and how useless you are and ugly and untalented. And I remember very clearly, and looking back now, I also think I was too young. I was 17 or 18 and very kind of coddled as a child, because I grew up largely as an only child, and so I didn't really have the street smarts to kind of go, well, no, actually I want to do this. So you know, thank you for talking about that, because I think a lot of people don't talk about stuff like that and think drama school is the be all and the end all. And I don't know if it always, I mean, I think training is really valid, but I always say to young people, if you don't get into a drama school, don't worry. If you want to act, just act, keep going.
Exactly.
You know, and you and I are living proof of that. So
here we are.
You left early. And you then went back home, didn't you? How did you kind of bounce back and pick yourself up again?
So I mean, my parents are incredibly supportive, and I think that massively helped, you know, and I definitely felt that there wasn't any judgment about me wanting to finish early either. It just felt right, to be honest. But when I did move back, I was like, I'm so not ready to be re-auditioning for drama school next year. So I got a job like working in Pizza Hut, and then a high school, and also I taught singing at a Stagecoach. So I did all three of those kind of simultaneously. And I think it was more just kind of growing up a little bit more. Even though I was living back home, I still needed that time to mature a bit. I mean, working at the high school, I was very much, I'd always thought of myself as quite young, and then I was put into everybody calling me Miss, and like the kids would follow me around and they'd be like, Miss, and I'd be like, just call me Amy. And so I think that helped me mature massively, actually. And I had to do some, like, I worked in a finance department. I have no idea how, and because I can't count. So
I can't add. I wanted to talk about
it, and it was. Say that again, sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, I wanted to talk about one of your slightly odder jobs, but you were just finishing up on the finance. Sorry. Do continue on that.
No, it's all right. No, go on. It was just ridiculous anyway, but.
I was going to say, one of your sort of slightly odder jobs was working as a scare actor in the Blackpool Towers. Firstly, tell us what on earth does that involve? And that must have been like must have messed with your psyche a little.
Oh, it definitely did. It was a really interesting time. I both loved it and hated it all at the same time. I only did it for a few months because I was then going off. I started in maybe March, and then I was going off to LCM in September. So I only did it, as I say, for a few months, but it was very weird because you're just in darkness from like 9 a.m. to like 6 or 7 p.m. at night. And it's just pure darkness all day. And so, especially like when it's a little bit dark, like when I first started in March, it was still quite dark. So you'd go to work in the dark, you'd be in the dark all day, and then you'd go home in the dark. And it also, like, the dungeon is very, so basically you play different characters and they go through a tour. There's like a plague doctor, and there is a smuggler, and various different crazy characters, and you have to interact with the people who go on the tour, and you have to be quite mean to them, but people really give it back to you as well. So you have to get really like sharp on your like cutting people down and stuff. So, oh my god, the cat's going crazy. So
maybe it's my voice.
If there's lots of banging in the background.
It's all right.
What on earth is he? Anyway, yeah. So like, you have to end up being. I know. So you have to be really like snappy with people. And my mum said at the time that I was like not very nice to live with, because she would say things to me and I would get really snappy back with her, because it was just in my like nature at the time. And I was in Superdrug one day and there was this little girl just next to me and I needed to get past her, and I just went, move, and I was like what the hell? And her mum looked at me like I'd just, you know, slapped her child, and I was like, oh my god, I work at the dungeon, I'm really sorry. It was just a lot.
Method acting, darling, method acting.
Yeah, it really like it went in there, but I had a good time as well, and I had to learn a lot of like vocal stamina, because there's a lot of shouting, and so I definitely learned a lot from it as well, and I enjoyed it, but it was also quite hard at the same time. Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because I sort of think when we're in those situations, you don't really realize that you're learning. You know, at the time it's like, oh my God, this is depressing and it's horrible. But actually, you probably learned way more on how to handle hecklers and how to handle a difficult crowd, and vocal stamina and vocal dexterity and all those things.
Definitely.
So
we had this thing at the beginning where they had like the court jester. So before they would take, like the jester would kind of introduce the show and entertain the people in the crowds waiting and stuff. And you basically had to do a comedy show, because you would just kind of take people into this room and just tell them jokes for ages and jibe with them. And it definitely taught me about improvisation as well, because you have to be like on your feet. And I mean, I've got many terrible jokes that are just always on hand. If anyone's ever like, what's a joke? I'm like, I love them.
Well, thankfully for us, you did bounce back and you went off and got your degree at the London College of Music. What is your most endearing memory from that experience and from that time?
Goodness, I don't know, it's a difficult one, because again, there's ups and there's downs. I feel like I've been very unlucky in a lot of situations, but at the same time I feel like I learned a lot from the school, and I feel like it made me the actor that I am today. Specifically in acting, I feel like that was where my acting specifically, rather than singing and dancing, was really kind of honed. And I feel like I learned a lot in life as well during that situation, that I think, you know, when you experience stuff in real life, it makes you a better actor. And because there's so much more to play on, and you can understand characters so much better. And so what's the most enduring though? My final show was incredible. I had the best time of my life. It was just amazing. I did Assassins, the Stephen Sondheim musical, and it was just amazing. I adored every minute of it, and that was really special. So I think that,
and you got, as you said, you got to appreciate Sondheim, tackle Sondheim, and really get your teeth and your tongue around Sondheim, which is a challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So you graduated, which was great. But then it wasn't entirely smooth sailing because you had an agent
No.
who, after 2 months, decided he didn't want to be an agent anymore and wanted to be a YouTuber. How
ironic. I know. Literally ridiculous.
But that must have been quite a bitter blow at the time. So how did you adapt and kind of, again, pick yourself up? Do you have a strategy when things like that happen, or?
I think I do now. At the time, it wasn't great, and I like the cat's just climbed on the door frame. Oh my goodness. Right, 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. He's just climbed on the door frame.
Right. Eugene is going completely mad. He wants to be in the action. Well, we're going to talk about the Edinburgh Festival when Amy gets
I'm
back.
back. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Right.
He's gone crazy.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. Right. Sorry. We were talking about when my agent decided to be a YouTuber. Yeah, so it was disappointing to say the least, and in that time as well my grandma passed away and I just wasn't in a great place, to be honest. I ended up leaving my job, trying to find another one. It took time, in all honesty. So I took quite a few months away from it all, and I was like, maybe I should just give up. God, he's back. Oh, sorry.
He's like,
never worked with animals. He just wants attention. I'm so sorry.
I love it.
But yes, so it just took time, to be honest. And it was just one of those things, really.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
But I think absolutely that. It's, acting and performance and being a performer is about resilience. And so it was the kind of one of the first steps of many, because we have to be resilient all the time. Even if you are working quite a lot, you're only as good as your last job. And that's, so it was a really good lesson to have to learn, although I'm sure not pleasant to go through. But fear not, because the Edinburgh Festival beckoned.
Yeah.
We have to talk about this. So you head off to Edinburgh in a show called Cock-a-Doodle-Doo-Moo. And I need to know everything. Oh.
So it's just Cock-a-Doodle-Moo.
Oh, not Cock-a-Doodle-Moo.
So I was Cock-a-Doodle-Moo. Yeah, so I basically played a cow on a farm. It was a children's musical, so it was aimed at like 4 to 6 year olds.
Right.
And so basically I was a cow on a farm where there wasn't a cockerel, so I would wake up and do the cock-a-doodle-moo, and I was a cow. And it was very cool. Like, I thought the design of the show specifically was so cool. We had like the best set and the coolest costumes and stuff, and it was a really fun experience. And it was a fun show as well. It was like nice. It was like maybe just under an hour, pretty chill, and then you got the rest of the day free. So yeah, but Edinburgh was a lot. I mean, I remember before I went to Edinburgh, when I was in training, they talked to us about it, and they were like, you've got 30 minutes to do your get in, but the person before is also doing their get out, so you're doing it at the same time. And I was like, this has to be a lie. I don't believe it.
No.
I fully was just like, this person's got it wrong. And then when I got there, I was like, oh, they were right the whole time. It was intense, but it was amazing. Like, I learned so much in Edinburgh. Yeah. It was a mad experience.
I think also it is an absolute rite of passage for every British performer, and actually performers now all over the world. I mean, when I first moved here 18 years ago, I also headed off to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival playing, I wish it had been a children's play. No, I was in a rock musical called After Dark, where I played, are you ready everyone, a sex-starved, tap dancing parrot. It was not
I mean,
good.
I can see it. I'll be honest, I can see it.
I mean, because I tapped so well. It was just, I could write a show about that show. I just remember the review in the Scotsman said something like, oh God, it was something like, it is the end of apocalypse now. And Marlon Brando has just uttered those immortal words, the horror, the horror. He has just sat through After Dark. I mean, it was that bad. It was that bad.
That is savage. Wow.
So no, there are no pictures or videos as far as I know. I think there's some pictures of me. Maybe one day I'll put them up, because we had all this elaborate face paint. I mean, I looked like a chicken. I didn't look anything like a carrot. Anyway, we will talk about that more one day. But so you went off to Edinburgh, and then you ended up with slightly more than you bargained for, with suspected pneumonia in the hospital.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, yeah.
And so basically, the producer rented like an apartment for us, and they had all the boys in one room and all the girls in the other room. And I was, I'm pretty chill, so I was like, I'll sleep under the window. But because there was like 4 or 5 girls in a room, we obviously had to have the window open. So I slept under a window in Edinburgh for a month. And with that, you are open to sickness and things, and just the general kind of wear and tear of it anyway. So yeah. I, like everybody else, went out a lot, but I just couldn't. I had to really kind of rest as much as I could. And then one night I was lying in bed. There was only the producer and the trumpet player still in the apartment, and I was lying there, and my chest was like gurgling. And I Googled gurgling on the chest, and it was like, this is a major sign of pneumonia. And I was like, I've got pneumonia. So I went out and I was like, I think I'm going to die. And they took me in the massive van that had all the set in it off to the hospital at like midnight. But it ended up that I just had, I think it was bronchitis. So that wasn't fun. But, you still did a show every day and just got through it, man.
Do you feel like pressure to deliver in a situation like that? Because, in Edinburgh, there's no understudy. So if you get sick, you're on. I remember doing a panto, and I got some hideous throat infection, and I had to go on. I had to sing with this, like, I was like that,
Yeah.
Wasn't good. But so I think sometimes, especially as performers too, we push ourselves probably more than we should. Did you feel that, a pressure to deliver during that time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was only a cast of 4, and then we did have one girl who was like, I can be a cover if you need it, and she kind of traveled with us as kind of like an assistant producer. But she didn't know the role, and it was, I don't know, I didn't really feel like it was an option for me not to go on. So the majority of the show was okay, but I did have this big number with a belted E at the end, which would normally be quite fine, but like it was not fine. So I sang it, and the girls in the rest of the cast would like sing nice harmonies below it. So what we ended up doing was I switched onto a lower melody, and then one of the other girls went up to the E, and it was fine. So we were able to switch it around a little bit, but I definitely took, I missed out on so many of the social things, and I probably didn't see nearly half as much as I could have done, because I would go to shows and just fall asleep because I was so sick and so drained, and I'd just be sat there all wrapped up. And so I don't know, I mean, I think if I hadn't taken care of myself as much as I even did, I probably wouldn't have been able to, but I reserved my energy as much as I could so that I could, bash it out for the show. And then as soon as I was on antibiotics again, then I was fine. So yeah.
Would you go back? Would you do Edinburgh again?
Oh my God, yeah, 100% in a heartbeat. I would love to do it. I had such a good time. Even though I was sick and everything, I still had a good time. I loved it.
All right, so we're putting that out. I want to chat about your YouTube channel for a minute. You started it in 2015, and it's such an interesting thing, this phenomenon of YouTube to kind of communicate instantly and directly with people. What prompted you to start it?
Yeah, so I started it in my second year of uni, and I just started to kind of get into watching YouTube myself, and I was like, that seems like that is pretty easy and that looks quite fun. And I always liked, you know, we used to make home videos where I would like act out stuff as well, and I love, you know, whenever there was a camera I was always talking to it. So I suppose it's always been kind of in me. And I started doing videos and they were so generic. They were like beauty videos. You know, I can't really be bothered with makeup anymore. But at the time I was like, that's what girls do on YouTube. So I did stuff like that, and like what's in my handbag, and nobody cared because I'm not necessarily passionate about that stuff. I mean, I like fashion and whatever, but not nearly as much as theatre. So I would do videos, but not terribly regularly, and they would get like less than 100 views. And I maybe had like 500 subscribers for like 2 years, and just didn't really, I don't know, I wanted to grow it, but I didn't really know how. And I just did, as I say, super generic content. And then during my third year of uni, I had no time. So I basically didn't upload for a year. And then I started doing theatre content after I left. Because one day I was talking to my housemate and I was like, oh, I might film a YouTube video. Shall I do 50 interesting facts about me? And she was like, no, nobody cares. But it sounds quite mean, but actually it was very helpful, because she was like, you have a degree in musical theatre, do a video about something about musicals. So that's when I started to kind of integrate that a little bit more. And then probably 6 months into that, I was doing theatre content kind of full time, and it was growing ever so slightly. But it was actually when I was in Edinburgh that the very first theatre video that I'd done that was types of audition songs to avoid, so like duets and, do you know what I mean, that kind of vibe, that video suddenly got like, it went from like, you know, 200 views to like 11,000 in a day. And my subscribers started to, and I don't know why. This was like nearly a full year later, and it just started to kind of gain momentum. And from then, it's just been quite steady since.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that comes across really quickly with you, because I watched some of your stuff before we met and worked together, and have continued to watch. I'm a subscriber.
Oh, bless you.
I think one of the things that absolutely like shines out of the screen is that you have this natural warmth, and you're quite quirky, and you're funny, and that you are exactly the same in your videos as you are in real life. And I think people, even if people don't know you, I think that really resonates with so many people. Do you find, how many videos do you do a week now?
It varies massively. I mean, when I used to do one a week, and then if I had something that I really specifically wanted to talk about, or sometimes I get like these mad urges where I'm like, I have to do a video right now and upload it today and do it all right now. So sometimes that will change things. But since we've been in lockdown, I've gone from doing, sometimes I'll do 3 videos a week, sometimes I'll do none. It just depends how I'm feeling mentally, to be honest. I don't want to push myself to do something that I don't, and especially if I'm having like a bit of a bad mental health day, if I'm not, like, there's nothing worse than sitting at a computer screen for 6 hours looking at yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
if you're not feeling very good about yourself.
Yeah.
So it just depends really, but I try to upload at least once a week, and at the moment I'm trying to upload twice a week. So yeah.
While we are on that subject, how do you sort of keep yourself mentally fit, if you like, for want of a better word? sort of, this is a kind of double barrel question, because it's how do you handle or keep your own mental health protected and safe? But also, how do you handle the haters, if you have any? I mean, I'm sure you don't. You're beloved by many. But the internet it's a scary old place, you know. And I'm new to YouTube, having a YouTube channel, and I received a couple of sort of comments that they weren't nasty, but I was just a bit like, whoa, I would never say that to someone.
Exactly.
So I'm really curious to know how you deal with all that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky. I don't get a lot of negative comments. But when I do, they're generally people just being irrationally angry that I don't like a musical that they like, or I don't like a song. And it's like, it's not really personal usually. And if it's not personal, I'm like, you know, you're being a bit nasty, but you maybe are too young possibly to understand that I'm a real person that you're talking to, and I read all my comments and things. So I don't take it to heart. Sometimes people will say stuff and I'm like, ooh, that cut a bit deep. But generally I'm okay, and stuff like that doesn't necessarily get to me. I suppose it's been difficult because I've done lockdown on my own. I live on my own. Yeah. And my mum came down for a few days, and I've seen some friends a couple of times, but generally I've been on my own this whole time. And some days I'm totally fine, and then some days I'm just like, this is horrific, the world is ending, and I just, you know, I'm fit for nothing that day. But I think being okay with the fact that you're having a bad day is the way that I get through it. I'm like, do you know what, I'm not going to try to do anything today. I'm going to lie in bed, I'm going to watch TV, and tomorrow I'll try again. I also do these things on my Instagram where I share my to-do list. And it might sound really stupid, but in the morning I'll share my to-do list. Yeah, and then throughout the day I'll like kind of show me doing my to-do list. And that sounds a bit weird, I suppose, if you don't really get that kind of thing, but it massively helps me to keep focused. And like, if I tell somebody that I'm going to do something, then I will do it. And I feel like I've shared it to a few thousand people now, so I should probably go ahead and do the dishes, you know. So it does help. And I've had other people message me and say it helps me as well, it reminds me to do stuff, and definitely to just write it down, especially if I've had a few bad days in a row and I'm like, I'm struggling to see a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, then just being like, right, I have to do this and I'm going to do it today. It massively helps. So I think I'm a person who I need structure and I need routine. And so I flounder a bit when I don't have that. So the lists do help. I know it sounds a bit weird, but yeah.
No, it doesn't. And I think that something, again, that watching your channel and sort of Instagram has been so amazing like that. But we are all, something that I always say to people who've watched my stuff, we're in this together. You know, none of us are quite sure quite how to handle all of this, because it is a first, certainly for many of us, most of us. And I think, as you said, it's absolutely okay to have those days. I mean, I've had days where I've been found in a kind of fetal position on the floor, just going, oh, it's all too terrible. But having a show to do once a week has also really helped me, because it's been like, okay, you have research to do, you have you know, things to plan, scripts to write, and it's made a difference. And I'm so delighted that people have watched and agreed to come onto it. So we are all in it together. That is the most important thing, I think.
Absolutely.
When was the first time you were recognized from your channel?
Oh, when was? I don't think I can remember, if I'm honest. It will have been at the theatre. Oh, I feel like I'm being really stupid now. Oh, I can't. It will have been at the theatre, because that's usually where it happens. I have had it happen, like, somebody came up to me in an IKEA queue when I was queuing up for some meatballs, and I was like looking like a hot mess. And I was like, very, very surprised, because it normally very much happens in the theatre cafe or in a theatre. So when it happens in the IKEA queue for meatballs, you're like, what? I don't know. It's so I can't remember the first time though. I feel so bad.
Well,
I think it's just slipped my mind.
If you can't remember the first time, I mean, I've been out with you to shows and things, and people adore you. Like, your level of fandom is, they're like, oh, it's Amy Lovatt, like really love you. What's the weirdest thing a fan's ever asked you to do or to sign?
I've never really been asked to do anything weird.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sign something once though, and I signed my real name, not Amy Lovatt, and I was like, I forgot, and I started like halfway writing my name, and I was like, I've forgotten my name, and it was like a strange situation. But I've never been asked to, as I say, do anything weird, but people say some very intense stuff to you sometimes that you're a bit taken aback by. But it's definitely been like a learning curve. And what I will say is, like, when I'm out with friends and somebody stops me, they say to me, like, did you know that person? And I'm like, no, and they're like, wow, you were talking like your friends. But I think that when I meet people, I do think of them as friends. Like, and I do think when I'm talking on things like on a live stream or in an Instagram video or in a YouTube video, I feel like I'm talking to a person, and seeing people definitely helps me. I kind of have, faces of people that I've met a couple of times and things. And so that definitely, I don't know, it feels like a friendship in a way, which is very nice.
Yeah, and it's been an amazing thing that social media has given us that. Somebody's just put real name ? So do you want to explain about your name?
Yeah, absolutely. So Amy is my real name, but Lovatt is my equity and stage name. So basically in I don't know if it's in every equity, but in English equity, you can only have one person of a specific name, and there was somebody else with my last name. So I chose Lovatt because it is my grandma's maiden name, and I just liked it anyway. And so that's the name that I've got now. But I'll go to like the bank and I'll be like, Amy Lovatt, and they're like, we don't have any record of you. And I'm like, wait, what's my name? I have like a real moment of often forgetting, but that's the truth, guys.
I have a similar thing. I have a married name and then my maiden name, which is my stage name. And every now and then too, when the bank are like, what's your name? You're like, it's this. No, it's not. It's this.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you have found, or in your experience, if being an influential YouTuber, which you certainly are, has adversely affected your acting career, or has it affected in a positive way, or not really at all?
I think both positively and negatively, to be honest. I did a video about the negative side of it a couple of years ago, so I won't go into it now because it's like a long old story. So if you're interested, that's on my channel. But positively, massively as well, I've met people that I would have never met before, and you get your face out there and you go to events and people know you, and people have generally a positive outlook of you before you go into a room if they've heard of you or seen you. And that's how I got Fanatical, because Rachel said to me that she watched my videos and she was like, we have to get this girl in our show because she's right for the character. And so it does help in a positive way as well, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's talk about Fanatical a little bit, because that is where we met. For people who don't know what Fanatical is, it's a sci-fi musical set in a sci-fi convention. So that was really interesting. Did you find that there were kind of parallels between the sci-fi fandom and the theatre community, like the theatre fandom?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think from cosplaying to kind of the money that you invest in this hobby. And I mean, I think it's kind of more than a hobby in a way. It's a bit more like a way of life when you are so into a fandom. so I definitely think there's parallels to the theatre fandom and the sci-fi fandom for sure. Absolutely.
Somebody's saying, please go back to Dragon Con. I would love to. The next time there's a convention, I would love, love, love to. They need to invite me. So getting back
Let's
to
get them on it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have Amy there too. We can do an excerpt from Fanatical.
Yeah.
If the composer and writers would let us, and producers would let us, that would be so lovely. What I was going to say is, like, I remember us talking in rehearsals about, yes, we will hug again. I remember us all talking about, because the composer had said that his family, Matt, lovely Matt, had said that his family were kind of like, why do you want to write a musical about sci-fi? That's stupid. And he was kind of like, well, you guys go to a game every Saturday and you wear your football jersey and you cheer and you chant. Exactly. It's the same thing. That's your cosplay. Yeah. And we have a parallel again with theatre people who wait outside stage doors and are there to meet us. So, that was great, I think. And we had a lot of laughs. Thank you very much. People are saying as sci-fi fans, it was a really brilliant experience and true to the experience. That is very true.
Yeah.
And some cracking tunes, which, was an absolute honor to sing. Yeah. And speaking of cracking tunes, I'm aware of the time. I think we're going to go over a little bit, but that's okay. So I wanted to chat about your fantastic concert, I'd Rather Be Me, which you did a couple of years ago now, which I was lucky enough to be at. God. And you sang an amazing song, actually, from Fanatical.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about the concert, how you came up with the title for that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd Rather Be Me is a song from Mean Girls, which at the time was my channel. People were really asking for a lot of Mean Girls. It had just come out. It was very, very popular. And I did a cover of I'd Rather Be Me, like, as soon as it came out, and it got a lot of views. And it ended up that Tina Fey, who obviously wrote and starred in Mean Girls, wrote me a note about my cover.
Oh my
and
God.
Watched it. And it was this whole thing. I know. And I've got it, like, framed in my house because I'm a loser. But it was, like, the coolest thing ever. And I think that when people think about me singing, that's often the song that they think about because people seem to enjoy it so much. And so it felt like a right choice. And also I have this thing of, I'm a performer, but I'm also doing this thing as myself on YouTube. So I suppose that's where it came from, really.
I'm just going to say, and everyone else is adding to that, you're definitely not a loser. And also, it's Tina Fey. We love Tina Fey.
I know. Yeah, me too.
So, Amy, your show sold out in 48 hours, your concert. I mean, that's incredible. Did that make you more nervous?
It did. And it did in a way, but also it didn't, because I didn't have to stress about, like, selling tickets. I was like, well, I know that they're all sold now, so I can just relax, because I feel like it's so stressful, like, promoting stuff, and I hate kind of selling stuff. And so the fact that happened was, like, actually a huge weight off. But then I had to do it, and that was stressful.
What was it though? Because, like, as I said, we've worked together. I shared a dressing room with you. Like, I don't think I've ever seen you nervous. Even on press night, you were kind of like, "Yep, I'm fine."
Really?
Like, do you get nervous?
I'm nervous right now.
Oh no!
I definitely do get nervous. I think I'm a bit like, is it a duck or a swan, where you're like chill on the top, but your legs are going crazy? And like, I'll come out of situations and people are like, how are you so calm? And I'm like, calm? I was not calm. So I think I'm just quite good at covering it, maybe, because I definitely get nervous. I was definitely nervous on that day. And my first couple of songs, I felt a little shaky. And when I get nervous, I talk really fast. My mum's always like, I can tell you're nervous because you're going about 100 miles a minute. But generally, once I was up there and, you know, I could see everybody in the audience because it was like a daytime show. And so you can see people and you could feel that people were very, receptive to me. And so it kind of settles you down a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I definitely do get nervous, but maybe I just cover it.
Because you're a professional. How did you go about selecting the songs for your show? Like, what was did you have a kind of theme, or did you just go, I'm just going to sing every song I ever wanted to sing?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I just sang, because I sang songs that I will never be in shows for. I tried to sing songs that had maybe a bit of a story to why I sang them as well. Because I hate when you go to a concert and they're just like, I sing a song and then, hi everybody, and then I'm going to sing another song. Yeah, I like a bit of chat in it. So I wanted to have songs that I could talk about. So I suppose that is really how I picked them more than anything. I suppose things that I maybe have a history with or like for a particular reason or something. Okay.
We're going to carry on in a minute, but we're about to be cut off. So if you're okay with it, if everyone else is, I'm going to jump off and then we'll jump straight back on again and we can finish up the interview. Not too much longer now. You can rescue Eugene. We'll be right back, guys. See you in a second. And we are back. So hopefully everyone will be able to jump on in a second. Thank you again for joining us, everyone. That's so lovely. Let me grab Amy again. I'm so enjoying our chat, Amy. It's been wonderful. Let's see. Yay, she's back. Is Eugene okay?
Yeah, he's lying down for the time being, so we'll wait and see. I've got a little shelf here, and at one point he was trying to climb on that, and I'm like, oh my goodness, please. He's relatively chill in the day, and then it gets to about 9 o'clock, and he's like, right, it's time to go crazy. So, bless him.
So let's get back to your concert for a quick second. Is there anywhere online that we can watch it?
There isn't. I did have it recorded, but I never ended up putting together any of the songs. I don't know. I think it was a weird, like, self-confidence thing after. I don't know. The only song that I did put up was You Should See Her Fly. I forgot what it was called then. Was You Should See Her Fly from Fanatical. Because I'd never done it, because I didn't play that part in the show. And also I like for new musicals to be heard and seen. Yeah. So I thought it was a good place to share that, whereas nobody wants to see another version of me doing I'd Rather Be Me when there's already a cover of it, for example, on my channel. Right. So for a couple of reasons.
Okay. And would you be interested in doing a little compilation for us if people wanted that?
Yeah, maybe. I do still have the footage. I could maybe pop it together if people did want to see it.
I think they would. Would you plan another concert anytime soon? Possibly one online, maybe?
Maybe not online, because I live beneath a lady and I'm very aware that she hears me belting too much anyway. So I would definitely not want to hold back. So I don't think I would do one, like a full concert from home, but maybe when theatres reopen, I think that would be a nice way to kind of celebrate being open as well. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. I mean, speaking of theatre and this pandemic, which has been so difficult for everyone globally to deal with. And I think especially our industry has been so hard hit. How have you managed, I know we spoke a little bit earlier about your mental health, but sort of How have you managed to stay positive and focused throughout it? The lists have helped. Do you have any other things that you do to keep yourself buoyed and encouraged?
Yeah, I mean, I think YouTube is the biggest thing. I mean, I've said so many times, like, thank God I've got YouTube, because it allows me to have a creative outlet. It allows me to get that kind of theatre buzz that I miss. Because I was talking to somebody and they were saying, like, the thing is that even when everybody goes back to work, if theatres aren't reopened, your life still won't go back to normal, because you only socialise at the theatre and you work in a theatre. So your life is like completely stopped. So yeah, YouTube has been massively integral in that for me. And then I also have decorated my apartment basically from top to bottom. So that as well has given me a massive outlet as well to be creative and to just have something physical to do as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously it does get difficult for sure, but having structure and things is just the only way that I can get through, to be honest. If I don't have structure and like don't kind of plan out my week, it just descends into, you know, binging TV series. So
yeah, which I think all of us have done our fair share of that during this time. With your channel, obviously as you become more and more successful and more well known, you've kind of become a theatre influencer and you're a guest reviewer. Do you enjoy that side of things?
Yeah, I do. I think it's hard though, for sure. Like, I mean, hats off to you, because I think it definitely helps talking to somebody that you know. Because talking to somebody that you don't know who just isn't feeling it, there is nothing worse. Like, it is so dry, and it's like, I've filmed videos where I've been like, I actually can't put that up because it's just so bland. And then I start making like weird random jokes out of nowhere, and it's just a bit of a mess. So I think definitely talking to friends and colleagues and people that you know a little bit definitely helps.
Yeah.
I mean, I just take my hat off to people who interview strangers all the time. I'm like, I do not know how you do it. I just have no idea. But I do enjoy it for sure as well.
And what do you see for your channel, the future for your channel? Where would you like to see your channel in 5 years' time?
In 5 years, I mean, I think it's a bit too difficult to say, to be honest, because YouTube and the internet is so ever changing. You know, like, if you look at the internet and social media a year ago, it's totally different to how it is now, and I'm a totally different person than I was a year ago, and my content's still changing. So I think it's difficult to say. I mean, I would love to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's like my goal. Fingers crossed, man. I mean, I started the year with under 50,000, and we've done all right in the meantime. So
yeah,
I think it's doable. But you know, just got to keep posting and being interesting.
Yeah,
I'm tempting to be.
Do you feel pressure to be interesting or different now because you're more well known, or is it just? I mean, it doesn't seem like that. It seems like you're just kind of like, this is me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very much who I am, really. I mean, I think my content has changed a lot in the last few years. I used to do kind of more silly stuff, and although I still do, I try to do some serious topics as well, and I try to mix it up, really, and just do what I'm interested. I try to do half of, say, what are kind of trends or people are talking about, and then half of just what I'm generally interested in as well. So yeah, it's a mixture, I would say, to be honest.
Yeah. With theatre, are you hopeful that we will be back in the new year? What's your take on all that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll be back before 2021.
Yeah, same.
Which is just heartbreaking. But I mean, who knows? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows? Because I mean, I'm certainly not a scientist, but it doesn't look good. But we have to. You can't. I just can't imagine theatre not coming back. But it's too heartbreaking to think about, I think.
Yeah. No, somebody just said, whatever you do, keep those voice and Zoom effects in. I agree. My favorite one is the one that looks like a snail. It's just like. So last year you bought your flat, which is an amazing thing to achieve. Incredible, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you filmed your first feature-length musical.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was written by one of my friends, and he wrote the part for me, and it was based on me, which is very nice.
Typecasting.
Pardon?
Typecasting.
Exactly. And he wrote the script, and he was like, you know, have a read of it, see what you think. And I was like, I don't sound like this. And he was like, I'm going to be honest with you, you do. And then I spoke to other people, and I was like, do I talk in these kind of patterns? And do I say these things? And they're like, 100%. So it was very accurate to who I am. So we filmed it last April. It was around the time I did my show as well. Yeah, it was last April, I think. And it was really fun, and I'd never done anything like that before. It was quite hard, but they've decided to kind of, because it's kind of based on real life, they've decided to rewrite bits and refilm bits, but obviously things are all massively up in the air now. Funding's changed, you know, so we'll have to wait and see. So I suppose I can't say much about it, to be honest. But it will happen. We just don't know when.
And where will we be able to see it? Will it be in a cinema, or will it be like released online?
I think they're intending to try and get it in, what's it called? Film. Oh my God, I'm having like a mental block. Like film festivals. There we go.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then it will also be released online, I'm sure, as well. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, should be fun.
And just before I hand over for questions, what is the first thing that you're going to do when it is safe to do so?
Oh, I really want to go and see Six.
Ah, yes. Can I come?
And I love Six, and I'll be honest, it just makes me feel good. I don't think there's a show ever that makes me feel as good as Six does. I come out and I'm like, I am a queen. And I can do anything. And I want to go and see Six with my friends, and I want to hug them, and I want to go to the theatre cafe, and I want to touch people and hug them. And I'm such a tactile person, so that's been the hardest thing for me, because like, especially when we were in lockdown and I was going out, you know, once every 2 weeks to get my groceries, and I was like, I've not touched a human in ages. And I'm like seeing people in the supermarkets, and I'm like, please, will you just hold me for a moment? So, because it was like 3 months of me not seeing anybody, like a single person other than people in the supermarket. So I just want to hug people. That's what I want to do. And see Six.
I understand that. And here's hoping that we can do that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
My final question for you is, at this stage in your life, because I'm sure this question will change, or the answer will change, do you have a dream role or a dream show? They don't necessarily have to be the same.
Yes, I do. And I've never seen this show, so I don't, it could be totally wrong that this is my dream role, but I would love to play Muriel in Muriel's Wedding, the musical.
Oh yeah.
I love the film so much. It's in like my top favorite films of all times. I adore it, and I love the cast recording as well. It's very much like in my vocal range. I want to be Muriel so much. So I think that's the dream role for sure.
Okay, we're putting it out here. You're terrible, Muriel.
It's such a good film, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. And I mean, Toni Collette is just
incredible.
You know,
the fact she did that at 19, ridiculous.
I know, right?
Ridiculous.
I know. So I am going to ask you some questions that have been sent in. If other people want to ask some questions, that's fine. I'm going to play a game. I've not done this before, and it might go tits up in a big way. But if you'd be up for it, would you be up for it?
Always. Yeah, whatever.
I'm going to ask you the questions in the style of a musical or a composer, and I want you to guess who they are.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So the first question is,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever fallen out of love with a musical? Ah.
Right. Is it in style of a Disney musical?
Yes!
Yay! I was like, oh God, please get it right. Have I ever fallen out of love with a musical? Yes, I have. I would say Book of Mormon, to be honest.
Oh.
Yeah, so I always loved Book of Mormon, and then I didn't see it for a few years, and then when the Black Lives Matter movement happened in June, I definitely started looking at the content that I consume and things that I've maybe not looked at before and not thought of before. And I spoke to one of my friends who was in the show, and we had a discussion, and I spoke to various other Black friends as well, their opinions of Book of Mormon, because it started to feel a bit uncomfortable for me when I was just thinking about it myself. And then I opened that discussion up with other friends, and they were saying it was a mixed bag. Some were saying I've always found it offensive. Some said I didn't, but maybe now I do, and maybe now I'm kind of becoming more aware of it. And my friend Jade Johnson did an amazing video about it. She was in the show and she talked about her experience, so I would definitely suggest everybody go and watch that. Because there is definitely, I mean, it's a massive discussion to have.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to kind of just talk about so kind of loosely here. But I think that is the one that I would feel most uncomfortable watching. And like, I was driving today somewhere and it came on my shuffle, and I was like, I'm going to skip past it. It just feels a bit icky to me now, which is weird, but it's about learning, you know, the right content and about listening to people about, you know, how they feel about things and taking that on board for sure.
Right. Okay. Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
I'm scared.
I'm scared. What is your favorite stagey thing to come out of lockdown?
Is it by any chance cats? What is my favorite stagey thing to come out of lockdown? Oh, that's such a good question. I think for me personally, it's not necessarily a lockdown thing, but I started watching Star Kid musicals throughout lockdown, and I did like a series on my channel, and it opened me up to this whole new fandom of people, and they are the most kind fans ever. The most honestly, I think it's quite nerve-wracking when you kind of enter a new fandom. Yeah. And you know, you don't want to say the wrong thing. And if I had questions, people were so kind and so open to discussion, and it was just lovely. And I also discovered some new musicals through it. So I think that's my favorite personal stagey thing.
Well, I discovered it through you because you kept talking about it, and then I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And it's, some of it's absolutely glorious. I'm very new to it, but yeah, really great. So we'll talk and you can give me recommendations.
Yeah, and the loveliest people. Honestly, the fandom are just so kind and welcoming. I've never experienced a fandom that particularly kind off the bat before. I thought it was
sci-fi fans are like that.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
So this next one, oh God. Firstly, they said they loved you in Fanatical.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'm going to give it a go.
I'm nervous.
As a gravy lover, have you ever tried Canadian poutine, French fries and cheese curds, topped with brown gravy, gravy, gravy?
I mean, it has to be Sondheim, right?
Yes!
But you're going to need to read the question again, because I heard something Canadian and
Yes,
gravy.
sorry. Very well done. As a gravy lover, have you ever tried Canadian poutine?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Which is French fries
Mm.
and cheese curds. Sounds disgusting, but is really tasty. Topped with kind of a brown gravy.
I haven't tried it, but that doesn't sound gross to me. I would be very up in that. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, poutine, you need poutine. Oh God! All right, next question. Thank God there are only another two, I think. What musical have you not seen yet, and is top of your list? My poor neighbours.
I don't know what that.
I think I sort of. Okay, well, I'll do another version of it.
Okay.
What musical?
Oh, Chicago.
Yes. I was trying to do like and all the jazz.
Yeah, no,
Right.
you know, I thought, is it Chicago? And I was going to say, is it Rodgers and Hart? But I'm not. I wasn't sure. Candor in it, goodness sake.
So the question was, what musical have you not yet seen and is top of your list?
What musical have I not yet seen and is top of my list? Beetlejuice, but it's now closed.
I know.
So it's so heartbreaking because I was supposed to go and see it in April this year.
Oh,
I had this trip planned. I was going to see that and Moulin Rouge and all these shows, and it was heartbreaking. So that is the top of my list when it comes back to because it's going on tour. So maybe I'll go and see it at a tour venue or something.
Yeah.
I have to see it.
Yeah.
Because I love it so much.
And then we'll have a part 2 and we'll have a debrief, I think.
Yes.
Okay, next question. What song is your go-to song? One you listen to the most?
Is that Les Mis by any chance? What is my go-to song? I don't think I've got like a specific song, but I probably listen to Six, Ben Platt's solo album.
Yes.
And the Cher Show the most.
Woohoo!
I love the Cher Show. What can I say?
Well, I mean, what's not to love about Cher?
Exactly.
And the Cher Show.
Exactly.
Oh God. Okay. What are your top 5 audition songs?
Was that Mamma Mia?
Could be.
Okay, what are my top 5 audition songs? Oh, it's hard because it depends on the show for sure. Songs I've done a few times in auditions. I'd Rather Be Me from Mean Girls, I've done a few times. A Way Back to Then from Title of Show. I Speak 6 Languages.
Oh yeah,
a few times. I love that song. What else do I always do? If I want like an old classic, I'll do I'm in Love with a Wonderful Guy from South Pacific. South Pacific, right?
I think so. I don't know.
I'm having like a
I know
real
the song,
brain
but I
moment.
don't know the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
And how many is that? That's only a few.
Is that 3 or 4? One more.
I think that was 4. 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Oh, Poor Unfortunate Souls. I've done quite a few times.
Oh, you do that brilliantly. I love that.
Oh, thank you. And maybe In Short from Edges. I used to do that a lot. I've not done that in a while, but I used to do that a lot.
I don't even know that show. This is my last question, and then I'm going to let you go because I feel like we've kept you for nearly an hour and a half. So.
I've had such a good time. Thank you so much for asking me, honestly.
Oh,
and can we all give Suanne a big round of applause? But I mean, come on, so many weeks, like just always incredible. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, I'm blushing. All right, final question. Oh God, this is not going to go well. What advice do you have for people who should have had their graduations this year and showcases and never did?
Lin-Manuel Miranda, is that you? Did Lin-Manuel Miranda enter the chat?
Right, just call me Suanne Lin-Manuel Miranda. Oh, God.
Was that what about people who had their
Yeah.
graduations and things?
What advice do you have for people who should have had their graduations this year and showcases and never did?
Yeah, I mean,
awful.
it's heartbreaking for sure. I mean, what's happened to the education system overall is just such a mess, and I just feel so greatly for everybody who's going through that. I mean, Lewis, who's one of my best friends, graduated this year, and like his end of year show has just fallen to nothingness, and they're showcasing things, and it's just heartbreaking. The only thing I can say, and I think it's very difficult when you're leaving training for 3 years and you're like, right, I'm ready to go and tackle this industry, and it's just on its knees, like it's so hard. And the only thing I can suggest is, you know, doing as much as you can at home. I do think that filming yourself, maybe practicing, rehearsing like self-tapes and things, working on those kinds of skills that, you know, we've had to do self-tapes throughout this. I've never done that many self-tapes before, and I've had to do a few during lockdown, so I've definitely learned about the kind of setup that I need and those kinds of things, and just getting into a practice of still continuing on with your craft, because it's so easy to lose it, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And I think just filming yourself, maybe you don't have to post it online, but to film yourself and watch it back and remind yourself why you love performing, and remind yourself what you can do and your talent and things is massive. And I think it's the only thing that any of us can kind of do to stay sane, really.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is also, I think, again, through social media, and now is the time where casting directors are really, really open to people being in touch. I mean, you know, you don't want to bombard them, but they're really open, I think, much more so than before, because they've had to. Exactly. And also, it's the only way right now to make contact with somebody, and you might just get a much, it might be brief, but you're probably more likely to get a response of some kind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, my darling Amy Lovatt, what a joy this has been.
I've had such a good time.
I've had a lovely time too. Thank you so much for joining me and for being such a star.
Oh, bless you. I can't wait to give you a real hug in real life.
Me too. I can't wait. And this obviously will be up on IGTV and then up on my YouTube channel, which I get excited about. It's got 2,000 followers. Nowhere near yours, but I'm getting there. No,
mate, it took me like over 2 years to get that many. So you're doing great, honestly.
Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you and hug you in person. And
definitely.
To go to the theatre together.
Of course, darling.
And to be in something.
Yeah.
Possibly together or not, but to support one another and to be working again.
Absolutely.
Oh, lovely, Rachel. Rachel is our producer on Fanatical for everybody in the room. So, hello, Rachel. Lovely to see you all. Anyway, good night, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. Amy, I love and adore you. Thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Next week, I'll be chatting to Lisa Stocker, who was the original Sophie in Mamma Mia here in the West End, and is the voice of Elsa in Norway. She is the official Norwegian Elsa. So do join us for that if you can.
Yeah, I will.
Well, can't wait. All right, my love. Lots of love and thanks very much, everyone. Good night. Bye.